All right, very good, folks. And now welcome everyone to the 8th Annual San Jose Poetry Festival 2022, presented by Poetry Center San Jose. My name is Robert Pesich, President of Poetry Center San Jose, and your host for this evening's event. We'll begin the program with a land acknowledgement and additional program information. We acknowledge that the city of San Jose is made up of the unceded territory of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, who trace their ancestry through the local mission system. We remember and acknowledge that this land was taken through violence and dishonesty. We remember the connection the Ohlone people have to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to continue to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. Let us take a moment of silence now to pay respect to their elders and to all Ohlone people of the past and present. Thank you. Now for some words about our supporters. San Jose Poetry Festival is presented by Poetry Center San Jose and is sponsored in part by Festival and Cultural Affairs grants from the City of San Jose, a grant from SV Creates in partnership with the County of Santa Clara and the California Arts Council, and also supported in part by a SV Creates National Endowment for the Arts American Rescue Plan grant, funding from Poets and Writers, and with support from Ann and Mark's Art Party, Applied Materials Foundation, Brandenburg Family Foundation, and Silicon Valley Community Foundation. We would like to acknowledge and offer our deepest gratitude to past venues worthy of your support: Art Boutique, Books Inc., Caravan Lounge, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library, History San Jose, Recycle Bookstore, and Works San Jose. Please support these spaces however you can. And I will put in the chat a survey for this afternoon's event. We have many upcoming events for the festival, including tonight's feature with Santa Clara County's 3 new Youth Poets Laureate. And this will be hosted by our new Santa Clara County Poet Laureate, Shaka Campbell. The Small Press Fair returns this year outdoors at the picnic tables in the Center of History Park. So bring your lunch and join us for a lovely morning in the sun. Hopefully not as hot as before. And the festival closes Sunday, September 11th with San Francisco Poet Laureate Tongo Eisen Martin, helping us usher in a new era and the new home of the San Jose Poetry Slam. And you can find information about these events at bit.ly/PCSJTix. All right. Now, for our guests tonight, we have Carol Steele and Nick Butterfield. And following their reading, we'll have an open mic. If you'd like to join us for the open mic, please put your names in the chat. I'll take them down. And one poem, 5 minutes. And now for the program. Carol Steele will go first, and then it will be Nick Butterfield. Not a veteran herself, Carol Steele's parents both were in the Army during World War II. She married a Vietnam veteran, and they had a daughter for 14 years. Her grandson served in the Army, and he is now medically retired. Her poetry is about the family experience having a soldier serving during a time of war. For Nick Butterfield, it's not the world that changes us, it's everything else. A true bibliography is dying of 1,000 lives 1,000 times a day. Nick served in the U.S. Navy Reserves from 1983 to 1993, and active duty during Operation Desert Storm, SHIELD, 1990 to 1991. Nick has been working as a family practice nurse practitioner for 25 years with the Homeless Project and Gardner South County Community Clinic in Gilroy. Nick has participated, let's see here, in 3 anthologies sponsored by Poetry Center San Jose, and helps co-facilitate the Veterans of Life Right group that meets at MLK Library at San Jose State University for the last 6 years, now presenting on Zoom. But a few words for Amy Meyer, founder of the program. Amy Meyer grew up in New York City and now lives in San Jose, California. In 2015, Amy founded Veterans Right, now Veterans of Life Right, based in the San Jose State University Dr. Martin Luther King Library, and currently meeting once a month on Zoom. She has been published in Sejura, Porter Gulch Review, and online in Portside. And I'd like her to come forward and share a few words about Veterans of Life Right, and bring us then to Carol Steele. Hi, Amy.
Thanks, Rob. So let me start for the people who don't know. Most everybody knows this already, but for the people who don't know, this group started out as Veterans Right and had a name change. And as Veterans Right, the idea was to serve the veterans in the area, because there has been a rift between veterans and those who haven't served in the armed forces. And at the time, veterans were feeling like they would like to have a group of their own. However, after a few years of that, the participants themselves asked if we could open this up to anybody who wanted to be in this group, with the idea that everybody's a veteran of life. You don't get through life without some challenges. And so it has been opened up to anybody who thinks that they belong in the group, and that's self-selecting. They do belong in the group. At this point, we have about a dozen regulars and others who can, who come when they can come. And we've just got our second student veteran at San Jose State. So, Carol is up first. Nick has asked me to introduce what he's going to be reading about. So after Carol, I'll come back on and explain that for Nick. All right, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Amy. It's really, really nice to be here. I also want to thank my daughter. She's here in my living room with me. And without her, I wouldn't have had anywhere near the information for these poems. We would talk regularly, and I would find a lot of information that my grandson, who was a soldier, had shared with his mom, and then they would jump into a poem. So I'm going to start first by going back a bit. This is, I grew up in Mount Shasta in Northern California, and this is a poem that I wrote about something that happened during that time. It's called The Old Soldier. For most of my childhood, he stood downtown on the corner of Mount Shasta Boulevard and Alma Street. Tall and thin, he held himself at attention with his head dipped slightly down. He was clean-shaven, with a vacant, distant look on his face. His unfocused eyes seemed to be looking far away. Through all the seasons, he wore his full-dress uniform with its long olive drab wool coat. He didn't hunch his shoulders when snow fell him in the bitter cold or break into a sweat even on the hottest day. Everything changed around him, but he stayed the same. He didn't seem to notice the sound of cars or people walking by. I never knew his name or heard him say a word. My father said he was in the war and probably thought he was still in the service. He said Ray Kincaid rented him a room over the bar and made sure he ate every day. I grew up, moved away, and then back for a visit, noticed he was gone. This poem was written several years ago, and a few years ago, we had our high school 50th year reunion, and one of the ladies at that time was there. Her brother was in the army, and we chatted for a bit. And I mentioned the old soldier, and she knew more about him than I'd ever known. She said he was a survivor of the Bataan Death March in the Philippines, and so I was really glad I was able to know what finally had happened. Holding my breath, in his deepening voice, my grandson announced he joined the army. The hardest time is when I'm home alone. After breakfast, straightening the living room, stacking yesterday's newspapers, or dusting the leather sofa where we read together weekends when he was small. He always surprised me at first glance because he looked exactly like my son. In photographs, I could tell them apart only by their clothes. With him nestled under my arm, still warm and damp from his bath, the scent of almond bubbles in the air, I would read one last chapter. Now, as I fold the laundry, images sweep over me. I enter the dust-colored world of war. Like a collage not fully formed, over and over the pictures layer in. A transport truck with the front end blown out. Troops on foot, clearing an area, house by house, guns drawn. A soldier on a stretcher, writhing in pain, rushed into the operating bay. At the edge of my mind, almost seeing him, the truck hit with an IED might be his. No, not his truck, not his strong young body there in the combat hospital, not his dear face, blood-crusted black on his cheek. I inhale and hold my breath. When the air runs out and I have to breathe again, all the grandmothers come rushing in. Afghan, Iraqi, and maybe soon Iranian, as they shake their rugs and plump their pillows, thinking of their sons and grandsons, struggling to hold back tears. On both sides of the world, women worry and work. Okay, I'm going to go back and forth a bit here. Okay, here's a couple of haiku I wrote just as he enlisted. His deepening voice reports he's just enlisted. Again, spring rain, rain. His deepening voice reports he's just enlisted. Again, spring rain, rain. In sweltering heat, his class graduates. One step closer to boot camp. In sweltering heat, his class graduates. One step closer to boot camp. Boot camp. It's late July, my grandson's first week of boot camp in Missouri. He's had another physical, his hair cut off, been issued Army uniforms and glasses. He wants to be a medic, drop in from a chopper, carry out the wounded under fire. I can hear his grandmother telling how he'd go into a village, look for stored arms, call in the aircraft, and get out fast. Both of his grandmothers did reconnaissance in Vietnam. and came home with canyons of hurt we didn't understand. When I found out I was pregnant, my husband was thrilled. 5 months later, he left town. My grandson talked to his friends already in Iraq. They said they were afraid until they got hit with their first IED. After that, it wasn't so bad. I sit at home and wonder, could we have done anything, or was he bored, acorn to the oak? Secret wedding. Before deployment to Iraq, my grandson married his high school sweetheart in Hawaii, where she was stationed. They must have been striking together, each with their raven-colored hair. I think of all the soldiers who married before shipping out for World War II. My parents, both in uniform, first saw each other waiting for a bus. I was 21 when I married an airman, just home from Vietnam. Didn't have any idea what I was in for. Are they like peonies cut early from the plant? The heat of war forces their bloom. They're beautiful, but how long will they endure? Before he deployed, I am jumping around. Before he deployed, my grandson sending home 5 powers of attorney. The first for his truck, his insurance, his bills, a general one, and the medical for his uncle, in case he can't make his own medical decisions. He refused to fill out a memorial service form. Threatened by the chaplain with an Article 15 insubordination, he explained, if I die, I don't want any overseas service. Don't want the other soldiers made more vulnerable stopping for my memorial. So he put down some crazy reggae tune as his song, wrote none in the box for the type of service, overseas service. And because his support for special forces, that was the end of it. I was proud of him. The longest week. Dustin called and sounded terrible, his mother said. He's going on a week's mission, but can't say where. 2 of the trucks in the convoy have only street protection, and he's driving one of them. CNN reports that the U.S. returns control of Anbar province to the Iraqis next Monday. Will my grandson be there? I tense each time the phone rings. When I hear my daughter's voice, I can tell it's not bad news. I could talk to my friends, but then I would cry. Right now, I'm just trying to get through. Driving home, jazz turned up on the radio, afternoon sun filtered through the trees, and I felt happy. Half an hour had passed without thinking of him. We've made it through Friday now. 3 more days to go. Tattoos. When he decided to join the army, my grandson had a gray skull wrapped with a dragon etched on his unmarked body. The week he enlisted, a dark Celtic cross inscribed on his shoulder. Home at Christmas, a sleeve of blue flames burned up his right arm. Now his tongue is pierced, and above his left wrist a wolf snarls. Soon a dark-haired angel will fold its wings around his chest, the indigo ink streaming down his side. Is he drawn to something warriors have long known? Each time he goes alone sober. He sits hours in the chair, listening to the rapid-fire tat-tat-tat of the tattoo gun. He watches as it pierces his skin, the blood pools. Jump. I don't know that this is really poem or series of poems, if it's just more like a little essay yet, but I'd like to read it, so I'll just go ahead and read it. Jump. Dustin did well in basic training and got to choose extra training and who he wanted to work with. He went to jump school and worked with special forces. I think he wanted the challenge and physicality of jumping. One day, while stationed in Iraq, he was holding a prisoner at gunpoint when their plane was shot down. Holding the detainee at weapon point, they got in a second plane. A few minutes later, it too was shut down. He jumped again, still holding the prisoner at gunpoint. They got in a third plane to finish the mission. That was the day he turned 20. Dustin was back in Colorado after his tour in Iraq when the Halo instructor invited him to go on a 9,000-foot jump. Do you think you can handle it? Of course, I'm an adrenaline junkie. In fatigues, helmets and goggles with altimers on their wrists and chutes on their back, they waited to exit the plane. When the light turned green, they rolled out head first, laid out in the star position. The howling wind was all they could hear. Buoyed by wind, it felt like floating as they free fell at 120 miles per hour. Through thinning clouds, land appeared in small parcels far below. Now this training jump was exhilarating, like skydiving. Then, for those in theater, halos are high altitude, low opening jumps. Halos will be military free falls from elevations 3 times as high above enemy fire. They open their chutes at a low altitude so they aren't shot. Communicating with hand signals, Dustin and the instructor pull their parachute cords, are jumped upright, and glide down to land, sliding in, making contact feet first. The last jump I heard about, Dustin got hurt landing. The Army thought he hurt his back and it would heal. It seemed okay for a while, and then he started to lose feeling and strength in his left arm. After an MRI, the arm doctor couldn't find a problem and sent him to a neurosurgeon who suggested exploratory neck surgery. He went to an Army arm specialist who said it was his arm. The nerve was so inflamed he needed immediate surgery to prevent permanent nerve damage. Permanent damage would mean Dustin would have to leave the Army. That would be devastating because he only wants to be a soldier. They operated and surgery went well. A model patient, he did all his physical therapy and nothing he shouldn't do. His arm healed and he quickly got back to full strength. Once healed, he transferred out of jump, saying, "Every time we jump, we get hurt." His second deployment. Sitting at Starbucks with my daughter, sipping a vintage drink, I asked about Dustin. Has he heard when he deploys? He still thinks June. He hopes Iraq or Afghanistan. Why not Africa? I asked. He said he doesn't want to shoot little kids. I go home and look up boy soldiers. They are kidnapped as young as 6, beaten, starved, brainwashed, given drugs, and made to fight. I think of Dustin leading Lakey, playing on the floor with his girlfriend's son, or coaxing him bite by bite to eat more because the little guy is too small. How he lifts him high in his arms to carry him to the car. After another tour, what shadows will be in his eyes, burdens on his shoulders. All the young soldiers from all the lands, what will they carry back home? This is a poem that I just wrote in the last few years, but I'd like to include it here. It's called Helicopter OH 6A 6716162. Danny Owens, an Army helicopter pilot, was awakened in the middle of the night for a mission in South Vietnam. Stationed on a naval ship on a river in Dongtown, he jumped up, pulled on his uniform, and went up to the flight deck, 2 steps at a time, knowing our soldiers on shore were under heavy fire. He climbed in the cockpit and started the aircraft. Danny was given the thumbs up and lifted off. He was my best friend and came to visit me when I moved away from our hometown. We stayed up most of the night talking. He said he loved me, was signed up for the service, but wouldn't go if I married him. I had no idea he felt that way. We talked on the phone a couple of times after that, and then I didn't hear from him. His mom sat in the top row of the bleachers at school baseball games, screaming cuss words at him. He was 6'2" with blue eyes and short brown hair. He was strong, gentle, and kind to me. We spent hours driving mountain roads in his baby blue Chevy. I always felt comfortable being near him. The report says he lifted off, hovered, and we should have gained airspeed. The aircraft lost altitude. The skids skimmed the water. The skids skimmed the water, the helicopter tipped forward and crashed into the river, sinking rapidly. They sent 2 planes after him, searching all night, but couldn't find him or his chopper. It was years before I heard how he died. My first thought was, I wish I had made love with him. At least he would have had that. Now alone a long time and still remembering, I wish we had made love. At least I would have that. Okay, 15 years ago. Did I read about the second deployment word yet, Melanie?
Yes.
Oh, I did read that. Okay. Again, I'll hang prayer flags outside my kitchen window. Bright colors each month, slowly fading to gray. The black ink bleaching out in the sun. Before my grandson's tour is over, wind will carry the flags to ragged strips. Wind will tear the flags to ragged strips, prayers carried on the air. I'll wear my rubber camouflage bracelet with his name on it. I'll keep his picture in uniform, face somber, the flag behind him, and my letter to him waiting for the mail on the altar by my door. I devour every bit of combat news, study this war like I studied Vietnam. There my best friend died. The men I knew who came back were broken inside. My grandson, may he come back. And if he's wounded, maybe they be wounds he can heal from. Somewhere in Afghanistan, sitting in the Santa Ana airport on the way home, my daughter calls. Have you seen Facebook? What's wrong, I ask. Dustin deploys to Afghanistan in 3 weeks. He'll be on a big base in charge of tower security, but we don't know where. Struggling to hold back tears, I say, I've been expecting this. Actually, I should have explained, has a combination of the prose poetry of the first that I just read, and then the rest of it is a series of about 5 haiku. So I'll read the haiku, but I'll read them twice, just to make sure you can hit the words. Thinking of you cards for my soldier grandson, the chill of autumn. Thinking of you cards for my soldier grandson, the chill of autumn. Wearing a bracelet in camouflage with his name, autumn loneliness. Wearing a bracelet in camouflage with his name, autumn loneliness. He'll be guarded in Afghan base, but where we don't know. Wind of 120 days. He'll be guarded at Afghan base, but where we don't know. Wind of 120 days. A scrap of news that he might be back soon. Early daffodils. A scrap of news that he might be back home. Early daffodils. Deployment over and home from Afghanistan. The mountain smiles. Deployment over and home from Afghanistan. The mountain smiles. I put my camel bracelet on the Jesus statue. Spring race rainbow. I put my camel bracelet on the Jesus statue. Spring rainbow. And a Jesus statue is a Japanese statue for the protection of children. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Always great to hear those, and the new ones and the old ones.
Great stories, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, next reader is Nick Butterfield, and Rob's been putting stuff in the chat. I put a little in the chat. He's going to be reading about the situation of the Amamutsan, the Ohlone Amamutsan tribe, and the Sargent Ranch quarry proposal on their sacred land. There's lots of information for anybody that's interested in following up on this after Nick is done reading. This is a controversy that's been going on for years and probably will continue to go on, but we, as a group of poets, were challenged by one of our members to respond to the community section of the DEIR. So there's a period of time that the public has to make community response, and we plan to submit our response in poetry to get their attention. And this is what Nick has to say about the Amundsen and the Sergeant Ranch sand and gravel quarry proposal.
Let's see, make sure I'm off. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm ready. So yeah, the first three poems, they're short, they're about what's going on. So first one's called Home. Home. The daughters and the sons will come back home. Where will they come back to? Atoms pressed against each other, common bonds that connect us cannot be replaced. Just as the sun needs the darkness for its people to appreciate the light, bones need a path when gravity no longer gives bones their strength. A home is not a home if the fathers and mothers no longer live there. Let's see, I have another one. This one's called Mother Earth. Where do you go when you want to sing? Is it buried beneath cement? We are a tribe called humanity, an earth with a drumbeat, a biosphere where we breathe. In cement, we find a heavy carbon footprint. In this land, we find oxygen to breathe. In words, the poet warrior chips away at the murdered elephant in the room for our survival, our mother, our life. Let's see. So this one's a short one. Earth, why do we write? To let you know this earth is sacred, and the people born of earth are sacred also. Let's see. All right. So those are those. So we have prompts every month. So we come up with different things. One was to talk about how we would talk with one of our ancestors. So this one is my great-great-grandfather, it's actually my grandmother's favorite grandfather. And I remember writing a report on him when I was in college. The college course was called The American Dream. Dear great-great-grandpa, I read your handwritten letters to your father that was passed down to us. You wrote that death is a gateway to bliss. I imagine your life as you walked along a long road home, skin and bones still weak from malaria, then burned your Civil War uniform infested with body lice. I heard you regretted it later when you participated and led GAR meetings later in your life. Grandpas are always supposed to be old to their grandkids, so I wonder how you were when younger. Did you walk along country roads all the time dreaming of a future greener than Wisconsin grass? When you arrived home, I wonder how the drum beat of war sounded in your ears, and in the fervor of patriotism and duty, how you must have felt, and if you were disappointed that you hadn't died a hero. Then I wouldn't have been the son of my mom, Esther, meaning star. A story in the Bible you carried with you in the chest pocket of your uniform. The fine print as dense as the Milky Way and more visible than our modern skies at night. Our city lights seem to have diminished the immensity you must have taken for granted when you slept in your tents at night. Grandpa, I write letters as though my ideas are my own, but I know the ground was impressed by footprints that came before us. My aunt, one of your granddaughters, told me from your obituary that you and your wife cooked warm meals, or also known as stone soup, after the war every Friday night for medical students in the college you started, in which everyone contributed. I hope I meet you in the clouds someday, the ones that hover at sunset. The alpenglow in the east will be what you left behind, like the clasping of hands in an audience at the end of a day, as though a lifetime could be just one day, an American dream like the one I came from, a child to be born, the stars in the sky waiting for our birth to begin. Thank you. Let's see it. My next one, I'm thinking, this one's called To Whom It May Concern. I can't depend on my words to tell you how I feel, though they could carry me to you. Who cares? Then let my words have meaning and gain momentum, lest I be fooled. But now I have shin splints from running up and down hills. I have broken bones that don't mend. What does it matter or mean to fall, if only to have memories and souvenirs? Doesn't gravity depend on me? And won't the plants feel me when I wave my hands? And the human beings living in tents turned out to be kind. But the future for them was always hard to find, as though they were from another Milky Way, sliding backwards into the future, in the mud, the wind, and the sound of hummingbirds. The stars and skies, and someone tries to write a letter as though words could make me feel better. Just a note to whom it may concern, to whom I listen. Let's see. I'll just go to this one. This is called What We Take. What we take is like a dust devil when it touches down. The dust of our ancestors swirling in a body takes with it our past and settles with our future. If a dust is a devil, how do we measure a tornado? I always thought tornadoes were invisible, made of wind, and could only be measured by what they carried. Where the center is calm, I could write the future to carry me past the dam where I was waiting, where dust begins to settle. Let's see. Okay, this one, I got two here. Let's see. What we were. This is about my past. I asked, "Where's our cat?" My mom said to me, "We took him to the farm so he could chase the mice." I was pretty young to detect this lie from someone who was all I knew. My persistent questioning broke the frail facade. I found out later she feared our cat would have us like a wild creature, might prey upon a human babe when no one was looking. So whatever power I had must have been there all along. If we knew who we were, bears would bring us toilet paper. The earth would think of us first as though we would belong to her. Dry lightning would clean the soul and cauterize the blood sores bleeding. Curly, the name of our cat, wasn't there to take away the breath of my younger sister when no one was looking. Rather, he stood watching over us, knowing what we were outside, where the womb hides and kittens purr. Let's see. Where am I? This one's called The Day the Children Fell. I wonder where I was that second and what I was doing when a young person can no longer grow up to be cool. Had not our past and future blunted most of the blows that we somehow had been protected from a seemingly invisible grace? Where are we when bullets fly in schools, in the church, our church, the park we play in, the mall? When are we in a future that doesn't look like a glorified John Wayne movie with the guns, our innocence no longer an excuse for freedom? How can we return to what was once our dream, our hope? When will a park, a home, a school still be a home? When do we change after we strike the ground? How do we remember each time we fall? How can we grow when we can't seem to grow up? This one I like. It's called Dear Warrior Regarding Memory Loss. Angels told me you are not complaining. A miracle whose message made its way to me. I can feel the way you feel when there are bullies of bread and land, but not the soul. It's hard to remember what the cost of freedom means. Memories may not be enough. The fight, however, is not yours alone. Those who write to angels find them on their doorsteps. The young see you as old, the old see you as one with the power of choice. It may sound foolish, but love is stronger than the world, stronger than any bully or ego needing attention. I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you not complaining when the world isn't what you wanted it to be. The world is lucky to have you even when you worry about what it means to be a human being. If I showed you how others see you, how flowers wave at you when you walk by on lonely trails, how the rain looks for you when you are thirsty. The ocean tells the sky to hold you in its breath even when you die. What you leave behind is what made the footprints that soon will wash away. The ones you never see. The ones that lead someone to keep on running after the flesh falters, after the battles, after the one no one forgets. I got a couple more. This one's called Relativity. I rode a horse without a saddle, this white horse with pink albino eyes. Only its mane I held onto as he tried to rub me off of him against a barbed wire fence many times. I was 8 years old. My mother let me ride the untamed horse alone and loosen the reins on me. I understand now how death can be a sacrifice. A life in which you hold on to is as strong as you letting go of it. We are creatures big as we are small. Memory as far away in the past as it is close to what is now. As close to being rubbed away as I am here now. See, I think we're doing good on time. I got a couple more. This one happened close to my house. It's called, it was last Christmas, just after Christmas. The one I did about the children was earlier this year. So we usually write on something that's topical and that's affecting our lives. This one is called High on a Hill. He was slumped over inside the driver's seat of the car he was in. He may have been reading and fell asleep. his head down deep in his chest, with his eyeglasses still on. His gray hair visible, we took a second look as we made our daily walk up Church Hill, which also has a retirement center at the very top. Maybe he is dead, my wife said. He's closer to heaven up here. Maybe the man in the car had left when we came back, or we just forgot to notice. It seems in our limited view, many visions can go unnoticed. Sometimes time also seems to go unnoticed. The commas and spaces that give us pause, I don't know where to place them. I imagine I could have tried to awaken him. I know better to observe my thoughts. There is a globe with a cross on top of the church that no longer turns. Music used to come from the base of the cross. I remember hearing the chimes on Sunday afternoon years ago. Could the man in the car have simply been dreaming, or maybe he was just tired from a recent trip? Maybe in my memory, I am unaware of dreamers passing by and the eternity waiting for us. God's toes tapping impatiently, and me remembering a dream from a hill high away, and the sun close to setting, and the night waiting for another star to shine. Okay, this might be the last one. I think it is. This one's called Visions of Joy. Except I need to find it. This is I was reading a book called Poet Warrior by Joy Harjo, which is, I think she's still the poet laureate. She's a Native American, Muskogee Indian tribe in Oklahoma. So actually, I think I submitted this to Sursura. I don't know if it got in or not. It's called Visions of Joy. Reset the television between where and now, so dreamers can keep on dreaming. Compost the corpses so the magic of transformation can happen when I write. Try not to solve the mystery of rocks on the racetrack. They, like us, move when the wind says so. The mud and ice comply. When I returned from the desert, the police were looking for someone. I thought I was a sunflower, but no one ate my seeds. My heart is a drumbeat, and the ivy outside grows inside the cracks, like jazz music inside the soul. Please reset my television before I can't see anymore, the dreamer and the dreams. The dream catcher catches what memory and love fail to collect. When time travels, we are the suitcase left behind. I'll go back to the desert. The cacti will be my shelter. Rocks will dream with me, the ones I stole. When the ink fades, so will I, trusting sleep much more than I imagined. That's it. Thank you. Thank
Wonderful,
you.
Nick.
Thank you, Dave.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much.
Robert, thanks for all your help.
Yeah. And Carol, thank you. Thank you so much. And Amy, thank you for the good words about Veterans of Life Right and the ongoing challenges with Juristec. And much appreciate all of the words shared today. And another round of applause, please. How about folks unmute yourselves and do a little Zoom clap for our guests here.
Here.
Yeah, Carol. Amy, Robert, thanks, everybody. Sorry.
We have copies of Veterans of Life Right anthology, and it's a great book. There it is. Amy's got it in the camera. And they will be at the Small Press Fair this Sunday. They will have a table. You can pick up a copy if you don't have one yet, and meet them in person and share stories. Very good. So hope to see you Sunday, and many thanks again, folks. Yeah, we're gonna have a open mic now, and I think we've shared the list, and that list is Larry Hollis, followed by Finney Bell. Please correct me if I mispronounce your name. David Eisbach, and then Josh M. And for those who have been thinking about it on the fence, chat me if you want to join, and we'll have you on the open mic. All right. So without further ado, please welcome to the mic, Larry Hollis. Where are you, Larry?
Hey,
There you are.
I wrote this one this morning in this morning's workshop. It's titled Fertilizer. You may think what you called me was an insult, a way of justifying cutting me off. But what you don't know, I take as a compliment. I strive to help others grow, to help people become stronger. What better way to do this than to strengthen their roots, nourish them, feed them, give them things they are missing? Have you not seen what a pile of manure can do for a garden? You say I'm a pile of shit. Well, thank you. That's what I was striving to be.
That's right.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. All right. And now to call to the mic, Finn Bell. I hope I pronounced it better this time. Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
So this is called Preparing Rice. My mom passed away 2 years ago. December is her birthday, and she taught me how to prepare rice the traditional way on a wood-burning stove. There is a skill involved in the sifting of rice, a patience explained between bent fingers of elders to the impatient, nimble fingers of their young, and how they part and create moving dunes of white into mountains, divide to invent valleys in between where empty hulls and shining gray pebbles await notice, a diligence in seeking every last one as if cherished gem. The practice of flick in the wrist makes grains rain showers and arcs of sunlight in one fluid motion, this repetition becoming its own meditative rhythm. There is art to the careful act of cleansing rice, of summoning the coolness of a stream of water ready to trickle down palms as they lightly caress plump grains, in observation of liquid swirling thin milk into translucent. A single joint becomes the mark upon your measuring tape finger, a knowledge innate of where the top of the saturated rice ends and the rise of water begins, an innate knowledge of how it is the perfect level. There is an art in the building and maintaining your fire upon which you cook your cast iron pot of rice. Begin with the small branches, leaves, and logs presenting themselves along meandering early morning treks, spying kasoy peeping between fences and sampalok fallen from tall trees. Remember the coconut hulls sun-dried after Fiesta ng Mahal na Birhen and carefully squirreled away. Take this morning's newspaper and light its frightening political headlines aflame. Feed it as offering to your hungry kindling. The wildfire consumes itself. Here your pot nestles where all the embers glow and endure. There is a skill to tending this life-sustaining gift of rice, a balanced scale of perseverance and ingenuity in preparing it as the vital lungs and heart of a meal where not one morsel is neglected. Nose and eyes intuit the thickness and steam and linger in the air a hearty aroma, and know this is where to shush and calm the flame. See as the grains soften and expand. Swallow what remains of the pool, land of purity once submerged in ocean fathoms now lifting its head, visible. Never an idle kettle, the pygmy aubergines, their bands of deep forest green startling, join the settling rice, keeping each company as they relax, subdued and pliable. Tara na, kain na tayo, carries upon the afternoon's remaining billow, humidity meeting this coming dusk in its tentative coastal breeze. Sampaguitas greet the cooling of evening, whetting appetite, saved prudently for hapunan. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shindo. Thank you. And thank you for joining us today. I'm going to now welcome Dave Eisbach to the mic. Dave,
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, thank you for coming.
yeah, let's see, can we get you here?
Yeah,
There
I
you
think,
are,
oh,
and
there we are.
this is
Oh,
Dave Eisbach. He
okay.
founded this San Jose Poetry Festival many years ago, 8 years ago. Very generous. He and his partner, all those meetings at their home, sitting at the long table, making the plans. Thank you, Dave, for the vision and the time and the dedication.
Well, thank you, Rob. I was only there for 2 years, and you guys have made this what it is today. It's delightful. It's wonderful. You're to be congratulated on that. I guess in another word, words, I'm kind of a tree hugger. I have my man cave actually outside in my backyard, and I have an arbor. And toward dusk, I like to sit out there where it's very quiet and look over my back. My backyard is covered with everything, but the favorite thing there is my orange tree. And I look at my orange tree and I just, it's just a nice spot and it's relaxing. The other day I was out there and I was moved to write a poem, and it's called Return. Sitting beneath the arbor in the backyard, as the day succumbs to the charms of night, and the half moon becomes more commanding, a loose formation of 50 crows flew across the face of the moon without making a sound. A minute later, another batch flew by in the same direction as the other. I was intrigued by their numbers, direction, determination, but silence as well. It caused me to think that no matter where you are, sometimes you want to go home. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Word.
All right. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's great. Thank you.
Now we're going to have Josh M. conclude the open mic. Here we go.
Yeah, I was debating between two poems. One of them I also wrote in the workshop that happened this morning. There's another poem that feels more important to read. So I'm gonna read that. It's called Found a Poem in Search of a Prayer. Another day in America, a fire in rural Texas, leaving 19 children, 2 teachers, dozens of family members, friends in the nation, been pointing fingers as to who and what is to blame for these increasing debates of mental health, asserting such atrocities are the nation's crisis. We have a problem with illness in this country. Texas governor said, however, to assert that issues are solely or primarily the United States' ongoing rash of gun violence will associate mass violence driven by a confluence of stalled reform. There is no the ill, it's all of us, a clinic and forensic serve on the news. I think of the common who must de facto be mentally ill, absent, evidence careful, considerate, given to social might, with an active declaration to simply be leading an unhelpful national alliance on mental health. 1 in 5, 52.9 million, 1 in 10 young adults, 18 and 25, challenges a day on the current infrastructure of scapegoating those who live to be the added. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Josh. Thank you for joining us and sharing your work today. And hope to see you back at Poetry Center again. And I'll conclude the open mic and the program here unless someone chats in the, like Brandon or Ed or Vicky. Yes, Brandon, did you want to share a poem?
Come on, Brandon. Come on, buddy.
All right, Brandon, come on down. We'll give you a minute. Sure. And once again, while we wait for Brandon to procure the poem, there is a link to the survey in the chat. Please go ahead, if you will, to fill out the survey. And remember, we've got events, the Small Press Fair tomorrow with many presses from local and also surrounding communities. And then we also have tomorrow the concluding event at the Tabard Theater featuring Tongo, Eisen, Martin, and that will be a great event starting at 7 p.m. We have tonight featured guests, the Santa Clara County Youth Poets Laureate. There are 3 this year, and they will be introduced, and the show will be curated by our own Santa Clara County Poet Laureate, Shaka Campbell. And this will be downtown San Jose at Anna Domini. Yeah, hope to see you there. Brandon, what do you got for us?
I got something.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, you didn't have to spotlight me like this.
Okay, no worries. I'm amenable.
All right. It's so hard to find a good poem sometimes. All right, we'll just go with a classic. Oh, it's frozen on me. Hold on.
Okay.
There it is. The nature of ropes. To whom it may concern, I'm not moving forward. I'm lying outstretched between a place stretched too thin, too close to snapping, too close to letting go, and you have not heard. The other one drawn, quartered, shaded to seem a certain way outside, beyond the hemisphere of thought and stress, beyond stress, beyond stress, beyond hindsight, will teach what is left to be learned. I never learned my lesson despite all the years I was left to think about them. I never learned to dance the way I wanted to, the way my mother loved the ballroom steps. So instead, I moved how I felt in arcs, inside of walls, in spite of walls. I danced. So this is fire. This is passion. This is what it's like to feel alive. Can you see the rim of glass along the edge? It's a wide scope, really, this lens, a millimeter in diameter, barely covering anything, but expected to see everything, everything, collapsing or contorting, corrupting or eroding. It never seems to end. How something can tie things together, but also pull them apart. You learn to let go of things you don't need, but you're still told from time to time to never let go. The nature of ropes still eludes me. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you
Brendan,
so much for,
That was a good one. Thanks, man.
yeah, for sharing. Yeah. All right. Now to conclude this great program tonight, remember this. I don't know if that's backwards for you folks, but it is
Yep.
All the Marvelous Stuff by Nils Peterson. Let's bring him into the program against his will and share one of the first poems in this collection, The Divine Comedy. In the middle of life, then, you come to a dark road. What is there to do but follow it down through the tortuous circles of what you have done and not done, to talk with those phantoms who fill the air with grief and rage? Curtain after curtain after curtain rises on the puppet theater. There on the sketchy stage, a two-dimensional man, young, lies in the gutter. He hears his own voice saying, about halfway through the course of my pathetic life, I woke up and found myself in a stupor in some dark place. Now the puppet is raised. His two pinned-on legs drop. Now he can stand and, when needed, walk. A bearded and togaed cutout floats forward from the dark of an alley. It's Virgil. Beatrice has sent him saying, I have a friend who's been having some bad luck. He's lost on a dark hill, and there's so much stuff in his way that he's scared and wants to turn back. The young man cries out, for God's sake, just lead me the fuck out of this depressing darkness, and remembers an English class where the teacher was asked, Mr. Alaheri, why does an epic start in the middle of things? Okay, there we are, founder of Poetry Center San Jose. Thank you, Nils, for founding and keeping this organization going. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to Mighty Mike McGee, our festival director. Please give him a round of applause.
here.
And for all his effort to bring this together this year. And we look forward to seeing you at other events. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the Small Press Fair. Once again, thank you, Amy Meyer. Thank you, Nick Butterfield. And thank you, Carol Steele, for today's program. And to all of you, love and go easy this evening. And bless and take care of yourselves.
Thank you, Robert.
And your
You
families.
too, Robert.
All right.